Greetings, Butterfly Tribe, and welcome back to The Way You See Me, Heart Healing Ministry. It's been a while, but it is time for us to resume with our journey of healing that we started sharing with you guys, hoping that someone would learn something from the experiences that I went through. That is the sole purpose of me sharing this, is talking about it helps me to release these things, and also I'm hoping you hearing about it. Hopefully you can share this with someone, or either you yourself, to the viewer, learn something from the experiences that I've gone through. So to recap, I started this journey talking about early childhood trauma that related to the feelings of abandonment, feeling neglected at times, not being able to verbalize what I was going through, also with my mother's addiction, me becoming a teenage mother, and I wanted to express that abuse is such a broad word to use that if you aren't being physically abused, sometimes you're not recognized as being abused. And then some things in life happen in our early childhood that leave scars that condition us or precondition us to walk into abusive situations, because we were not prepared correctly, or we normalized things from our childhood that are not normal, that are not productive in the life of children, teenagers, or young adults. But because it was happening in a family dynamic and we saw it every day or heard it every day, we normalized it and thought that this is just how it is. And that is not just how it is. Those things affected us in ways that are still hard for some people to talk about. But we must talk about it if we're going to break these cycles that are destroying our children, our youth, our young adults. We must talk about it. We must break the cycles. We must say what's right and what's wrong. And we have to stop making things that are wrong seem right just because we saw it or heard it, or because it was our mom or our dad or our grandparents or our aunties or people we grew up with at church. It does not matter. If it's wrong, it's wrong. The last time I recorded, I was at my junior year of high school. I had just given birth to my daughter. I gave birth 2 weeks after my 16th birthday. But we're going to open up with scripture. We're going to open up with Psalms number 30, starting at verse 4. It is written, "Sing praise to Yahuah, you loving committed ones of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his set-apartness. For his displeasure is for a moment, his delight is for life. Weeping might last for the night, but joy comes in the morning. May Yahuah add a blessing to the readers, hearers, and doers of His set-apart word. So I returned to my junior year of high school. This was December 1993. I had been homeschooled since early September or mid-September of 93 after a suicide attempt that nobody knew about. It almost cost me my life, but even at the forefront of it all, no, I never told anyone what happened. They just thought it was complications, I guess, with the pregnancy. You can go through my journey of healing videos, and it tells you about all of that to save time. But I returned to school, and it was basketball season. So I returned just before our district season of basketball, expecting my body to be like it was, and it wasn't. My body had gone through a very traumatic experience of childbirth. My daughter was 8 pounds 4 ounces. At the time of her birth, I probably was maybe 140 pounds. Before, my pre-pregnancy weight was probably about 115, 120 pounds. But my body had gone through the trauma of having her. I was really tired. I had received a blood transfusion in September, 2 blood transfusions in September, and now I needed another blood transfusion after delivery because I had lost so much blood in delivery. So I had another transfusion. But even 8 weeks after delivery, I was extremely tired, and I was on iron supplements because I was severely anemic. But I did resume my athletic interest. I returned to basketball, and I did okay in basketball and track that season. I also was a little depressed, probably because of the breakup in December, the official breakup, which I should have known was over before then, but again, officially ended when my daughter was 2 months old. And I can remember holding her at night and just crying. She would cry, I would cry. And I had trouble sleeping. But I also started working my first job because we needed things, and the only way to get it was for me to start working part-time. So I started working at this newly opened restaurant in the city or little town that I lived in. And I can remember going to the interview, and the lady was Miss Gina was so compassionate. She was pregnant, if I'm not mistaken, either pregnant or had just delivered her first child as well. So she was very compassionate and understanding. She worked around my school and athletic schedules. Most of my hours were late in the evening or on the weekends. My mother taught me responsibility. And after giving birth to my daughter, I remember her telling me, she's your baby. Where you go, she go. In other words, she didn't want me to feel like she was going to treat her like that was her child. I chose to have her, and she was my responsibility. So when I would get paid, anybody that worked in 93 era, no, minimum wage had to be about anywhere between $4.15 or $4.25. So if I made $120 that week, my mother automatically got $60, half of what I made, for taking care of my daughter while I was at work. I used the rest to take care of what I needed. I had to provide all my school fees. I remember buying my class ring, anything that I needed for sports. I had to provide that for myself. And looking back, I don't know how I managed to do that, but other than the Most High made it work. That summer, I worked 2 jobs. I did a parenting class / job during the day, to where some days I had to report for classes, whether that was with my daughter or alone, and it taught me parenting skills. And I attended that with another student, a girl that I played basketball with. She and I both attended that summer class. And the days that we weren't in class, they had scheduled for us to work. So I worked at the university in that city in the nursing department, filing, typing, delivering things around campus, going to the mail room, going from one department to another. And then they also taught me office skills. So I made a pretty decent income with that. And then in the evening, I still had my part-time job. And with that, I provided for my daughter and I the best I could, and also for my younger siblings. So that summer, I bought all of our school clothes, their school supplies, and also what I needed. I paid my senior fees. I paid for all of this stuff that I needed. I opened a checkings account, and I think that year I was able to file taxes for my daughter and I, since I was working, because my mother was still on government assistance, but my daughter and I were taken off because of an incident that happened when she was at daycare, where she received a diaper rash, and I refused to let her go. So because I wouldn't let her go to daycare so my mom can go to the work-study program, then they removed us, which was fine with me. So that's when I actually went and got the part-time job. And so I did the best I could. So I did not grow up with a lot. I'm not a materialistic girl, but I learned how to do the best I could with what I had. I learned how to accessorize, and I learned how to you could not tell the price of what I had on, because I learned how to take care of the things I bought, and I made sure that it looked good on me. And until this day, I'm not a name brand girl, I guess, because that was not embedded with me. I saw teenage girls, parents dressed them in the best of everything, and that was not my story. But that was the least of my worries. My worries were making sure my siblings made it to school, making sure my daughter was safely provided for while I was at school or work, doing my schoolwork to the best I could, keeping my grades eligible, because I still had the desire to go to college and earn a degree. I had the hopes of getting an athletic scholarship, and a lot of people may assume that I wanted to play basketball, but I truly wanted to play volleyball at the collegiate level. So I kept my grades up and I performed at my best. I learned how to carry a lot of pain, a lot of concern. I felt like I had the weight of the world on me, and for the longest, I think because I carried it so well, I don't think people understood how much pressure I felt like I was under to be a perfectionist that I could not make. a mistake. That I had to be the best. But I never was competing with anyone else. Never. In sports, I was competitive that I wanted to win with my team. But I never set my mind on being in competition with someone else. I was learning how to be comfortable in my own skin again. And most days, that was all I had the energy to do, was deal with what was going on in my present. And so my junior year was all about recovery, learning who I was again, or at least attempting to, learning to be a good mom to my daughter, who until this very day is my inspiration on, I'm gonna be the best woman I could possibly be in her eyes, because I knew those little eyes were watching me. They were watching me. She looked up to me. She became my motivation to get up in the morning, and so did my siblings. I still wanted to do what was best by them. And sometimes that came at the expense of worrying about myself, or not worrying about how it was taking a toll on me. And I thought that was normal. There's nothing normal about that. We do it because we have to. It's called survival. And we're built for survival. But looking back, I never learned how to live. I just went through life in survival mode. That's my junior year. And I'll give you a peek into the future. It doesn't get any better for a long time. I'm talking about my mental state, how I looked at life. I never worried about if I was going to be okay. I knew I had to be okay. But even that changed at one point. So that fear of being abandoned that I learned in early childhood, when I was left in that cafeteria, or so many times I felt abandoned when I was literally around so many people that were supposed to love me. But I felt like I was in a ship or an island all by myself. But I now know that I was never by myself. The Most High sent His Son to be right there with me. He sent His Spirit. He sent His messengers to protect me, to keep me stable. And that long night, that long testing period, they helped me endure, because they knew there would come a point when joy would come in the morning. Weeping may endure for the night. That's when we're sleepwalking through life, the night journey. Joy comes in the morning when that awakening comes. And He knew eventually, at a certain place, at a certain time, at a certain cue, in His appointed time, that I would awaken. And I would see the world differently. For His displeasure is for a moment. His delight is for life. Weeping might last for that night, but joy comes in the morning. I hope I've shared something with you that was worth it. I don't want to be on here just talking. I hope it inspires somebody to keep going, because joy comes in the morning. Join us again for The Way You See Me Heart Healing Ministry. Be blessed.